Hi everybody, welcome back. Take 1,400 for the day. I'm kidding, but it has been quite a few. Guys, listen, I love doing this. I absolutely love it. I just am really bad at the technical stuff. If anybody wants to tutor me, please help. That's why my videos are a little slow to come out, but if you hang with me, I'll get the hang of it. All right, guys, thanks for coming back. Now, I want to speak today about the Suzanne Morphew case again. I have started looking at videos and trying to educate myself on just more of detecting when someone is being deceptive in their speech. Now, we haven't seen a lot of Barry Morphew's physical movements, but we have heard some of the things that he has said. Not much, especially for a man whose wife has been missing for over 4 months, but that's a whole different video. And I also wanted to speak about my conversations with Teresa Fountain, who is a friend of Suzanne's. Now, I'll just go ahead and get into that right now. But let me make the announcement, guys. There's going to be a huge search for Suzanne in a few days on the 24th. If anybody can make it, I beg that anyone that can, please do. If I could financially do it, if I was healthy enough to do it, I would love to. I'm sure I would be healthy enough to do some of the things that they ask. I just don't have the money to fly across the country right now. But anyone that's close by, please join in. Now, let's talk about Teresa Fountain's conversations with me. She says that she has known Suzanne's family for a very long time. Her family owns Jean's Root Beer stand there in Indiana, where they were, I'm assuming, born and raised, but they were very young and grew up there. So she was familiar with Suzanne and her family. She had just not gotten on a personal level with her at that time. So fast forward into adulthood, and tragically, they both ended up with cancer. So through that, they had both joined the Relay for Life. So they got to be personal through their cancer. They had gone to Relay for Life, I'm so sorry. The different, I guess once a year they have these huge events that will go on for 24 hours. There are things scheduled throughout the day, and then they can camp out and spend the night there and stuff, and just try to make it an enjoyable time for them, and and also remind the ones that are there, hey, still fight. And they also go over who has passed since the year before. Now, she said that when she was at the Relay for Life, Suzanne came earlier in the day with one of her daughters. Well, then in the evening time, she came back with her husband, Barry Morphew. The reason I want to talk about this is because it goes to show, because, all right, I feel bad sometimes with these videos. I feel like I'm pointing a finger at Barry Morphew, and I don't want to do that. But his actions, his words, and everything tend to point you right back to Barry. So it's hard not to. As he said, that the media and social media were making him out to be a bad guy. Well, the way I see it, Barry, you're making yourself out to look like a bad guy. It's not what we're doing. We're going on your speech and actions, nothing else. So they go to this event for the Relay for Life. When Barry comes in the evening time, when they have the dinner and they lit the candles in what looked like the paper hot air balloons when they're doing, like a commemorative ceremony, and light them and send them up in memory of people. Well, they had dinner and they got to that part. And she said that Barry just seemed stoic, non emotional. Some people are like that. Excuse me. I'm back here with my cats and my asthma's tearing me up. So, some people just aren't emotional creatures. But when your wife has gone through cancer twice, you would think that you would show some kind of, I don't know, love, caring, something, I don't know. She said that he sat there and just, I guess a grouchy type self person. Suzanne begins to talk to other people and her friends, and I don't know if they had an argument going on earlier in the day that maybe had contributed to it. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but when she goes to talk to her friends, Barry snatches his lawn chair up that he was sitting in, folds it up, and goes on to the car and leaves. So, wow. It just reinforces everything that we have seen as far as his behavior up to right now. So he gets up and he leaves. Now, she said she had gone to a cookout at their house before they moved. That one, she said it was pretty normal. The men kind of hung out in the garage and did their own thing while the women sat and talked and, did their thing. And that seems pretty typical. I mean, especially for the ones that I've been to. So that one, she said, seemed kind of normal. Well, then in February, they spoke on the phone. Teresa was in Florida, and she wanted Suzanne to come visit. Suzanne was saying, oh, yes, I would love to. I want to come visit you so bad. That would be great. Warm weather, the beach. Well, then she hears Barry in the background. You're not going anywhere. You're not going. You cannot go. You're not going. So Teresa said that Suzanne's demeanor changed at that point. Of course it would. Whose wouldn't? I'm sure she was embarrassed. Just, oh gosh, humiliated and saddened. She said, I'm sorry. I have to go. And that's the last time she heard from Suzanne. That small little bit right there makes me wonder what all Suzanne went through. Especially being sick, moving across the United States, and then she's dealing with something like that. I can't imagine. But her words, I'm sorry, I have to go. It upsets me. It upsets me. Now, she says that Suzanne was very hesitant to move. She moved during her treatments. Wow. I just can't. She's hesitant to move. So that shows me who was behind the move. Now, Barry was obviously wanting to do this move. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to uproot your wife from everything she knows and loves while she's going through cancer treatments across the United States? Not to mention your two teenage girls that I'm sure have established a life where they're at and are pretty happy with it. And then he moves them away. So, what was so worth it? What was so worth moving to Colorado while your wife was in cancer treatments and she was hesitant? Your house had not sold yet in Indiana. I just can't imagine what the driving force behind that move was that trumped Suzanne being sick, taking her and the girls away from everything they know. I would like to know what that reasoning was. speculating, being on the outside of the box looking in, I'm going to say that Barry needed power over everything. He seems like he is a commanding, demanding type person. Ugh, you're going to do what I say. Flex, Barry, Big Bear. That's how he comes across to me. So I can't imagine how he was with this move, how miserable it was. Oh boy. So you've got Suzanne moving. She's hesitant. I'm sure she's scared. And the husband's all gung-ho. And to take her out in the middle of nowhere. And then when you get her there, take the landline out of the house. It's starting to fall into abusive territory at that point. Now, let's go on to Barry Morphew's speech. There's just so much to say there. He hasn't said much, but strangely, there's a lot to be said there. I have been watching the Behavior channel for months now. I absolutely love those guys. There's 4 of them. They have impeccable resumes. And their wit on top of it, they just make it so much fun, and it's so educational and informative. So I will try with my terrible, I just can't work a computer. I just don't even know how to say it, guys. I'm terrible. So I'll try to link their channel down below, but they're really great. And I picked up some information from them. And also, I had been watching a channel called Diggy Day, Digiday. And I'll try to link that down below. Now, it didn't list this woman's name in the description, nor did she really announce it when she came out to give this speech. I guess she does, I can't think of the word for it now, the talking and motivational speaking type thing, or hers is more educational, and she works with companies. So it didn't say her name, but she retired from the CIA of 20 years. And it's called, I think, How to Spot a Lie. Now, a lot of hers has to do with words and not physical actions. And that is what we need to apply to Barry, since we haven't physically seen him speaking hardly at all, except for in the Tyson Draper video, which I will link that one down below too, if I can. But I've told you, you guys know where it's at. I'm going to start making, I know you can hear my papers rustling through here, but I haven't gotten my new mic hooked up. So if I can't link something, guys, maybe I'll just write it on a piece of paper and do that. That's my editing. That's funny. Okay. Now, let's go on to Barry Morphew's words. Oh, boy. Before we start dissecting his actual words and applying them to whether they are qualifiers to be deceptive, there's something that he said early on that just, I don't know, it irks me. From the fire chief. Now, it's coming from the fire chief, who's the only one who hasn't said anything, I guess, bad, really, about Barry, which he couldn't. He employs, well, not, I don't know, would that be considered employment if it's volunteer? So, I'm not sure. But, yeah, so he's working for him. So, he can't say anything. But has anybody said anything good about Barry? Has one person come forward and said, you know what, I know that Barry Morphew, and you guys have it very wrong. I've not heard one human being come forward in, I guess you would say, his defense to maybe correct the misperception they think is going on with him. And I don't see anybody out there. I mean, my God, guys, Chris Watts was a serial killer, and he still had friends that liked him. I don't get it. All right. But the fire chief says, this is early on, that Barry is pacing back and forth, constantly looking out the window, hoping he can see her. Are you serious? pacing back and forth, looking out the window, hoping he can see her. Did he think she was going to walk up with groceries? Come on, man. That just sounds like such horse crap. Yeah. So he's constantly looking for her out the window and searching. I don't know, maybe she's going to do a drive-by. Hey, I mean, really, dude? Or was he also described him as being restless. Was he restless, pacing back and forth and constantly looking out the window? Was it for her? Because I haven't seen him look for her much, talk about her much. I mean, you just haven't seen Barry do a whole lot here at all. So he's restless, looking out the window, and hoping, he's looking out there, hoping he can see her. Or is he restless, looking out the window, waiting for the trail of black SUVs to roll up, the suits come out with their pretty silver bracelets they're going to give to you? I mean, are you looking for the 5-0 or are you looking for your wife? I don't think you're looking for your wife out the window. That just sounds crazy. But him being restless and pacing and looking, that sounds like someone who's waiting for the feds to roll in. I keep laughing, and I'm sorry I keep laughing, but some of it's just so ridiculous to me that you can't help but laugh. The whole situation is very sad, and the ultimate goal here is to bring this woman home to her family. But I can't help but laugh at some of the dumb stuff that he says and does. It's amazing to me. There's also a comment before I get started, because I just said, who's really said anything good about Barry? Nobody's come forward. Now, there's a commenter on one of my earlier videos. You'll have to go look at it. I didn't write her name down because I don't know. I didn't want to, put it out there like that. I didn't want to put her on blast and be like, hey, so-and-so said this. You can go read it. But talking about laughing, I'm sorry, but I rolled. This lady commented that 4 years ago, now this is also what leads me to believe that there may be some steroids involved too. She said 4 years ago that she thought the guy with Suzanne at her birthday party was her gay friend. Barry the gay friend. Oh my God, that's so funny because he's just so now, it seems, and that's what she's shocked about. Well, she goes on to say that when she found out that it was Barry Morphew, she thought, no. She said it was incomprehensible. Now, she was commenting on the video where I mentioned the steroids, and so she tends to think along those lines too, I'm assuming. She said she wondered if he had a physiological lack of testosterone. Oh, that got me literally choked up. That was really good. Yeah, she thought that he had a physiological lack of testosterone and that he was Suzanne's gay friend at her birthday party. She said that she didn't even recognize him when he got off the plane. I don't know what plane she was referring to, but she said that he looked so much different from his brothers, and yeah, that's funny, guys. She thought that he had a lack of testosterone, that he was the gay friend. So, moving on to his words. Now, when I watched the behavior panel, the one thing that I took away and applied to this case and applied to Barry's words were the fact that a suspect framing it around themselves. It doesn't have anything to do with Suzanne when he's speaking, really. It's all about Barry. He frames it around himself. And I found that to be true. True with him. So here we go. As far as I want to talk about his his impromptu interview with Tyson Draper. Now, guys, we all have a gut feeling. It's a primal response. So you take that and you take the things that you've learned. Now, we've got from the Behavior Channel, framing things in terms of self and not the other person. And we see that a lot with him. Now, I also watched the Diggy Day channel, Digiday. I'm going to try and link them below. And they had the CIA officer on there, retired, 20-year career retired CIA officer, and how to spot a lie. Now, hers was more about speech, not physical. So that applies more to what we're talking about here in Barry. Now, she goes on to talk about there are what they call exclusionary qualifiers. And you've got, if you have two or more qualifiers in the speech, when they're answering you, it becomes a cluster. 3 and 4, obviously, it's a bigger cluster. So if you get 2, that's considered a cluster. At that point, it becomes deceptive. Now let's go into some of these things that I noticed that he was doing that seemed to apply. We've got convince or convey. Is someone trying to convince you of something, or are they trying to convey information to you? Hence the question that they asked. So you also have aggression and third-party attacking. We've seen Barry Morphew do this a few times. Jeff Puckett, Morgan Gentile, the Sheriff's Department, law enforcement, period, because the FBI is lying and they are allowed to lie, he said. The Sheriff's Office screwed things up from the beginning and they're blaming him. And we've got Morgan and Jeff, who are meth heads, and, Jeff's been in prison for 9 years. He literally said he's been in prison for 9 years. I wonder how that statement's going to age in the future. So we've got convince and convey, aggression with third-party attacking also, and religion. When they start using religion, she said that that's something that's commonly done. And she said, because what can you say or do in rebuttal of someone using religion? It's difficult to do. So you've got those 3 also, and she considered the aggression and also like third party attacking big qualifiers. Okay, so that's a huge one, and we also see him do that quite a bit. And the religion, third party attacking, and also the Behavioral Channel, framing it around them in terms of themselves, not the other person. This has never been about Suzanne with him, it seems like. So let's get started on some of his words some of the things he said that I picked out and went, oh. It seemed like I was hitting pause. Every time he'd say something, I'd hit pause again. And I'm like, what? That fell into it too. Then I thought, am I being hypersensitive? Or does he suck at this lying thing? Now, his first interview with Tyson Draper, he starts, as far as the Suzanne missing thing, he starts it with, let me tell you what happened. Now, I don't know what that speaks to me. Let me tell you what happened. Barry was not there to see the bicycle. Remember, he was in Denver and then traveling home for, 3 hours? So he did not see this. You have to keep that in mind when you listen to this. He seems too familiar with it to have never been there to see the bike down there. And he catches himself. And then he does this, backpedal type thing, trying to, oh, what'd I just say? So he starts it with, let me tell you what happened. I think I'd have been panicked. I'd have been like, oh, gosh, he's going to confess to me. Oh, that's what you expect. The media has been bothering him. He makes sure to mention that right off the rip. And that it's very emotional and private. Private? What are you talking about? Sound the damn horn. She's missing. Ring the bell. Let's all go look for her. What do you mean it's private? Oh, that's crazy to me. Now, he says, what seems to have happened? I just don't know how he comes to these conclusions. But let me go into what he says that I think falls into conveying, convincing, not conveying. He's trying to convince at this point. What seems to have happened, and then it's afterthought and the convincing starts in, because I think he kind of caught himself. And he said, from what the investigator said, and they don't give much. So Barry was the lucky guy that got the information. The first man that they're going to look at and suspect, they gave him the info, and they don't give out much. How lucky of you, Barry. Again, I'm calling bull crap. I mean, come on, dude. From what this is afterthought after what seems to have happened. From what the investigators said, and they don't give much, and I've got private people working for me. So there's his convincing statements of why this happened. It's because the investigators have said that. What investigators he's referring to, I'm clueless. And also the private people working for him. So he's trying to convince us between these, generic investigators he throws out and the private people working for him have told him this. Now, who are these people, and are they still working for you? You seem to be hiring and firing a lot. You fired Morgan Gentile, and when did you fire her? I'll get into that in a second. But anyway, so he kind of catches himself, and then he goes into convincing mode from what the investigator said, and they don't give much. And I've got private people working for me. So it's, it sounds like a backpedal, and then convince. Now, he doesn't even look at Tyson while he's saying all of this stuff. And then he turns to him, and the only time he does when he's talking about that, where the bike was and what seems to have happened, then he turns to him, and he almost he just made sure that he was with him. And he says, maybe she was abducted from right here. Like, he had built it up to this conclusion. And maybe she was abducted from right here. So his private people and these investigators have told him this information. I don't think so. I really don't. I think that was the narrative he threw out there. Now, he starts telling, this kills me, he starts telling about where the bike is. Now, he's obviously a little bit like me, kind of animated. And so he's using his hands to talking about where the bike is. And he's asked, so the bike was against the tree down there. He says, well, no, it was on the ground, and he's using his hands to gesture and motion. He says, well, no, it was on the ground, and the wheel was facing, and he pulls towards himself, and it's almost like he caught himself. Because again, Barry was never there. Of course he could have been told these things, but why and how, why would he be told where the wheel was facing? That seems like personal recollection to me. But he stopped himself. It was almost like he caught himself in that personal recollection. And he literally stops after that. And he goes into this fumbling, stumbling, ooh, and it was so ridiculous and awkward. It went on for like a second or two. It was crazy. So he says, well, no, it was down there and the wheel was facing, and what does he come up with? And the sheriff's office screwed it all up. Wait, go back to this wheel thing. Go back to the bike and the wheel. Tell me more. I want to know. And how do you know where that wheel was facing? Tell me more about the wheel. But I just think it's odd that he's demonstrating almost as if from his personal recollection, and then a backpedal kind of move. He had to hurry up and throw in there with the and the sheriff's department screwed it all up. Now we're going back to, I forgot to add that, the long pauses. That's also a qualifier, the long pause. So we get into the and then what does he do? Third party attacking. Throw sheriff's office under the bus. Damn them. I mean, I don't know. Again, we're going back to deception with Barry. His pauses, his stumbling, his third party attacking, his aggression, the way he uses religion. I mean, it's above and beyond. I think that was a little bit of a slip up with the bike. Sorry, guys, you can hear my pages turning out and have a new mic hooked up. Hang with me, I'm getting there. So they messed up all the evidence. Well, then near the end, Tyson asked him, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? And he begins with cover some ground, Barry Morphew did. In other words, searching. But if you find anything, don't touch it, he says. Take a picture and send it to the police and call them. Those untrustworthy lowlifes that you were just bashing, now you want us to quickly, don't touch, take a picture and send it to them. Are we going to stay with one theme or are we going to keep changing it, Barry? Do you like the police? Do you not like the police? What are we doing here? Or do you just not like them when it's convenient for you and you're convincing people and third party attacking? I don't know, just it's what it seems like to me. Well, they then were speaking about the personal item. Barry Morphew goes on to say, take a picture of it, call the police department, and he mentions the item of hers that was discovered on the road. And then he goes into about how he found men's clothes. I don't know, he just spent way too much time on how he had found these men's clothes out there and what they had been doing. And I just thought, that's an odd area to expand on. Why wouldn't you expand the conversations when you're talking about your wife or what happened? That's when the comes in, or the Barry. I mean, it's just so freaking obvious with this man. So, yeah, he tells him don't touch it, and he goes on and on and on about the men's clothing. And then he asked him, how long before someone noticed that she was gone, Suzanne was gone? That would probably be a pretty easy question to answer at that point, I would think. But instead, and this also goes back to deception. That's why investigators like to pick things out of the middle of the story, then they'll pick something out of the end, then go to the front in the beginning to ask questions. Because they established all of this in chronological order in their mind, because it's not something natural. So they established this in chronological order, and interrogators like to get them to, trip up, slip up. And when he's asked how long before someone noticed that she was gone, He starts out with, well, it was Mother's Day. So, we're all aware that it was Mother's Day. You don't need to tell us. We're very well aware of that fact. And we know what generally takes place in most homes on Mother's Day, as far as maybe dinner, a card exchange, or flowers. Which, was there ever a gift? Has anyone mentioned a gift? Because it was Mother's Day. And if he was leaving her for Mother's Day, was there a gift? No one's spoken about a gift. And if there wasn't a gift, why? Did he know why he wasn't buying her a gift? Because she wouldn't be there? Things like that start making you wonder. So he says, well, it was Mother's Day, so, and there's the longest, craziest pause. Now, we've got another qualifier shooting up. They're everywhere, man. They're just like bombs going off, all of his qualifiers for the deception. This long, crazy pause. I don't know why that requires so much thought, but it still doesn't answer the question. But he goes on and just talks some crazy stuff. And then there's this more silence, the weirdest, awkward pauses. So I think the question threw him off his feet is what it did. He wasn't expecting probably someone to go there and be that bold with him. And I think it's great. So it kind of threw him off his feet. And he goes on and on about this job again. How he prepared for his workers. And that conversation, again, we expand a little too much in the areas where we shouldn't. Or just that you normally wouldn't in a situation like that. So yeah, we've got him expanding and going on and on about this job. And what does he throw in there? He has to make sure that he gets his self-inflation going on. And he has to say, I'm the owner. I'm the owner. I mean, come on. Egotistical maniac. Now, I want to talk about his speech, especially on Fox 21. Oh my goodness sakes. Now, this one was a little bit different. The questions were more shot right at him and asking deeper questions. So I found that one to be pretty intriguing. Now, I wanted to mention something, guys, about this, the Facebook thing where someone, I guess the assumption is it would be Suzanne at midnight, but her brother says it's completely out of character for her to send out many friend requests at midnight. So he doesn't believe it's her. Well, I got to thinking the other day, how do we know that it was her on the phone texting her friend? How long was Suzanne gone for? I would like to know when the last time someone heard her voice or saw her. That would be interesting. So, if someone could pretend to be here at midnight, why couldn't they pretend to be here at 3, 4 in the afternoon, 2 in the afternoon? So it sure makes you wonder, but I just have a lot of questions, like him saying that he fired Morgan Gentile. Okay, when? When'd you fire her? Because she was a good employee for 2 years, and she was also a good employee. Not only was she a good employee, but you trusted her decision making to get another person to help with this job. So you trusted her enough to make that decision and work for you. And then you fired her. But when did the firing, because he said in this interview I'm getting ready to go over, he said, but I fired her, she's mad. Her and Jeff aren't going to say anything good about me. Not that I've heard anybody say anything good about him, to be honest. And that's crazy, but he says she's mad because I fired her. So what happened between Suzanne coming up missing and her coming back home, and one of his Barry Morphew's family members and friends went to her to take her pay and said, we don't want this to look like hush money. So did they say, hey, this is a severance pay, we're done, goodbye, we're not doing business anymore type thing? So when did the firing come up? She gave her phone to CBI and everything seemed to be cool before that, up until she gave her phone to them and possibly did an interview. I'm not sure if she'd done an interview by then. I don't think so. He says he had fired her. Well, when did that take place and why? Because there weren't any jobs going on after the one that she was suitable for and suitable enough to hire another person. Between that and now, what happened that you fired her and why? It was obviously another third party attack, the meth heads and Jeff Puckett. He was in prison for 9 years. I wonder how that comment's going to age on Barry in the future. Yikes. And I also got to thinking, why? He said that he left at 11 o'clock on Saturday, the job. Morgan Gentile said he left at 11 o'clock on Saturday so that he could go home, make the wife happy, do some hiking and maybe some mountain biking. So he goes off. Well, she finds out later that he was in town shopping and stuff, that he wasn't with his wife. But my thing is, the whole picture's just crazy. Why wouldn't you work Saturday and spend Mother's Day with your wife, because she's the mother of your kids, and then go to work, that night, Sunday night? I don't understand why he chose to say, I'm going to hang out with her Saturday, the day before Mother's Day, but I can't hang out with you now. I got a job to do on Mother's Day or fire training. Just craziness, guys. So let's get on to his interview with Fox News. Of course, he tells her that some media and social media has made him look like a bad guy. Has it now? Or you made yourself look like a bad guy, Barry Morphew. He's made himself look like a bad guy. Everybody is just going on his words and actions. It's not like we're sitting here making things up. It's things that he said and done. Okay. And also, hang on, one more thing with the Tyson Draper video. Barry Morphew said that he is not a person of interest. He's been cleared. He's good. The sheriff's office hasn't cleared anybody. And I think that was more arrogance and also more convincing. So he's asked, I'll start in the beginning. Now, he's asked about this job with Jeff Puckett and Morgan Gentile. He says, she tells Barry Morphew, tell me your side of the story as far as the job and the hotel and all that stuff went, and leaving there and, speaking with them and what they've said, which they haven't really said anything bad. It's just what happened. So she says, tell me your side of the story, Barry. And again, what does Barry start with? He says it like 3 times during this interview. And it makes me wonder, was it more aggressive and harsh with Fox 21 because it was a woman? Yes, he seemed to still be that person with Tyson Draper, but just not quite as much. He reined it in a little bit, and it seemed like there were no reins when it came to this. And I wonder if it's because she was a female. He just comes off as that type of person, guys. So tell me, your side of it. He starts with, listen. Now, he does this multiple times. Listen. Okay, Dad, hang on. Huh? His listen. And then he begins to tell about hiring and speaking to Jeff Puckett. Now, this is how He says he spoke to them, and it kills me. Listen, again, listen. I need to do this job, and I'll pay you good money to help me. There is no, will you come and do this job for me? Here's what I have to do. It's, listen, I need to do this job, and I'll pay you good money to come and help me. In other words, you're going to do this job that I have to do, and I'll pay you good money. You're coming to work with me. Okay. Gosh, that demeanor. Ooh, it makes my blood boil. He goes on to say, I gave him a job and opportunity, of a lifetime here, building this little wall. He says, I gave him a job and an opportunity, and they all jumped on it. Who's they? All. I mean, there's not a group. You're not offering society a way out of poverty. I mean, his arrogance and dominance is overbearing. Hey, overbearing Barry. OB, overbearing Barry. I love that. Okay, listen, I need to do this job and I'll pay you good money to help me. I gave him a job and an opportunity and they jumped all over it. He's talking about Jeff, but they jumped all over it. He's got to throw that in kind of like I'm the owner, just to sound more up on his throne. I want to know who the all is, He says, Jeff Puckett spent 9 years in prison. I have a bad feeling about that statement. That's not going to age well with you. Now, he said he left in a hurry when he got the news about Suzanne. Now, did he leave mail in the trash on purpose? Probably. That was probably staging, just to say, hey, see, I was here. The mail's here. An aha type moment thing. He says he rushed home and left all my tools in the hotel. Now that is another, I think, a convincing type move that he did. I was here and I was ready to work. But yet the workers say those were not the tools that we needed. And it looked like he just emptied his truck. Yeah, not so good, Barry. Ain't looking good for you. Another convincing thing. All right, now, when asked what he would say to people who think that he did it, I'm not sure what it is. I guess she just kind of threw that general statement out there, to let him speak of whatever he was going to say, I guess not lead him of where it may be or what it may be. He says, absolutely not. I love my wife. I would never hurt my wife. She is the light of mine and my daughter's lives. Now, we all know the distancing language. I don't think I need to explain that, but my wife, he won't say Suzanne during that time. And that to me sounds like distancing. And also on the Diggy Day, if you watch that video, there is a part in there where she goes over people saying that's also another qualifier. I mean, these few sentences are filled with qualifiers. Everything from the distancing to I would never. She said that is another red flag. I would never, saying that. Now, after he says absolutely not, everything after that also is convincing. He's not conveying anything to us at that point. He's just trying to convince us. So you've got convincing, distancing, would never. Now let's talk about I would never hurt my wife. Now, who says that she's hurt? Who knows that she's hurt? Does anybody know that she's hurt? I mean, possibly Barry, and I just have a gut feeling that Barry probably knows. So I want to know is I would never hurt her. So why would he think that she's hurt? And if she's hurt, why was he pacing and looking out the window hoping to see her? If she's hurt, if you think that bothers me. Not only the would never, but the hurt. I would never hurt my wife. No one knows if she's hurt or not. So that, I don't know. You would think that you would just say no. No. If someone asked me if I killed my spouse, no. No, no, and no. And you get a bunch of convincing with him. Now, I think I went over everything as far as the other one. I'm sorry, guys. I got long-winded. Holy crap, we're almost at an hour here. If you stuck with me this long, man, I love you. Hang in there, guys. I'm sorry I didn't do a video for a week, so I got a little long-winded because there's so much that I have to say. And I think I also mentioned it in case I didn't. The Facebook at midnight, all those many requests sent out. If someone was pretending to be her then, could they pretend to be her in the afternoon? Well, sure, in case someone saw her, heard her, or unless someone saw her and heard her voice. Do we know that? I'd like to know when the last time she was seen. Obviously, everyone's saying it's Barry. He sees her in bed asleep. I don't believe that. But, so no one knows if she was alive the day before. I would like to know where her conversations stopped to see if someone was pretending to be her during the day. Since it ended abruptly Saturday, was it something that she said that caught him off guard that he couldn't answer? He didn't know the answer to that question, you know, or exactly what was that? I don't know. It makes you wonder now. It sure does. But guys, listen, the search for Suzanne is coming up in a few days, the 24th. I wish I could make it. I really do, guys. And I just can't. I can't financially get out to Colorado. I would love to. I would do anything they asked of me if I could get out there. No problem. But, you know, maybe I've got something to do here. I don't know. But I have a couple cases I've been working on. They're personal to me. If you guys want to look them up before the videos, that would be cool too. Donna Gomez in Lincoln Park, Michigan in 1985, I believe. There's also, hang on, let me get her name right. Dixie, what was the other one? Dixie something 5. But anyway, I'll get with you guys. And Dixie Barker 5. It's a friend of mine's grandmother that went missing in the 80s too. I think hers was like 83. So I also want to talk about those. But I will be back with you guys and hopefully soon. Thanks for staying with me this long, guys. I appreciate you. Jill the Private Investigator. Hope to see you next time. Bye.